Mario, go ahead and kick us off.
Good evening, Toastmasters. This meeting is called to order. Thank you for coming. Welcome to the Coral Gables Toastmasters. My name is Mario Litano. I am your Sergeant at Arms tonight. I welcome you all to this meeting. I will be introducing the meeting tonight. All speakers and functionaries, please rename by clicking your name and include your role, first and last name. Mute your audio during the speeches. Use the reaction buttons for virtual reactions. Send private messages to the speakers for feedback if you wish. You may unmute during the introductions, the closing remarks, the awards presentation. Former members and Toastmasters from other clubs may take on functionary roles, may be voted for the best table topics or best evaluator. Other guests can also participate in the table topics but cannot be voted for best table topics. All functionary roles and speaking roles will be granted co-host privileges to share screen if necessary. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any and all meetings, images taken during the meeting will be used expressly for club social media purposes. This meeting will be recorded and shared only with members and the attendees. We have an exciting meeting tonight. Please welcome our president, Mr. Lucas Calafell.
Thank you very much, Mario. Tonight is an exciting night. Not only do we have, number one, our meeting, the first meeting of July, the first meeting of the new Toastmasters year. And to add the cherry on top, we are going to have our new executive committee installation ceremony. With that, I want to introduce our installing officer, Mr. Patrick Flood. I'm going to spotlight your video and some of the others here so that everyone can see.
Great. Lucas, should I proceed?
And one more. There we go.
Greetings all. I am the official club officer installer, and I'm going to start by thanking our outgoing club officers, Jasmine Sandoval, Jane Ruiz, Jose Villar, Lucas Calafell, Karina Gonzalez, Waywin Wang, and Brian DeSimone. Thank you for your work and dedication to our club. You are discharged from all further duties and responsibilities as 2020-2021 officers of the Coral Gables Toastmasters Club. I am here to install the 2021-22 officers of Coral Gables Toastmasters and prepare them for the challenges that lie ahead. Their collective challenge is to make this club strong, help people from all walks of life to speak in an effective manner, listen with sensitivity, and think creatively. I will ask each officer to listen carefully as I briefly describe the challenges they must meet and the responsibilities they must fulfill. First up with the club leadership roles is our Sergeant at Arms, Mario Litano. Mario, you keep track of the club's physical property, such as the banner, lectern, timing device, and other meeting materials that we hope to use this year when we start meeting in person. I'm editorializing a little bit there. You arrive early to prepare the meeting place for members and to stay late to stow all the club's equipment. You are also in charge of the meeting place itself, obtaining a new space when necessary, and maintaining contact with the people who allow you to use the space for your club meetings. The Sergeant at Arms also has a role to play during business meetings, speech contests, and other special club events. For example, the sergeant at arms escorts potential new members outside of the club's meeting place while the members vote on admitting them to the club. The sergeant at arms stands at the door while contestants compete in speech contests to ensure that the speaker is not interrupted by latecomers. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much. Next up is our treasurer, Jane Ruiz. You are the club's accountant. You manage the club's bank account, writing checks as approved by the executive committee and depositing membership dues and other club revenues. You are also in charge of submitting membership dues to world headquarters, accompanied by the names of renewing members, filing necessary tax documents, and keeping timely, accurate, up-to-date financial records for the club. Though the treasurer's duties are usually not the most demanding of all club leadership positions, the consequences for members can be serious when they are not completed accurately and on time. Jane, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes, I will.
Fantastic, congratulations. Okay, Brian is not here. I'm going to skip Brian DeSimone, who is the Secretary and Vice President of Education. Vice President of Public Relationships is Rachel Zhu. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Rachel?
Yes, correctly, Rachel Xu.
Okay, Shu. You promote the club to the local community and notify the media about the club's existence and the benefits it provides. You promote the club, update web content, and safeguard the Toastmasters brand identity. It is your job to notify the media whenever your club does something newsworthy. As Vice President of Public Relations, you will find yourself writing news releases, creating and distributing flyers, and maintaining the club's presence on the web and in the community. You will manage all outreach to the public and bring in guests to our meetings. Rachel, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes, I will. Thank you for the opportunity.
Congratulations, Rachel. Vice President of Membership is Felicity Tinney Wilson. Felicity, you manage the process of following up with guests and transforming them into members. By initiating contact with guests, helping them feel welcome, and providing them with the information they need to join, you help maintain a constant influx of new people into the club. You also attentively monitor membership levels and strategize with the rest of the executive committee about how to overcome membership challenges when they occur. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes, thank you. I will.
Congratulations. Okay, again, Brian is out, and that leaves us with our incoming president, Lucas Calafell.
Yay, Lucas.
Toastmaster Lucas, having been elected the president of Coral Gables Toastmasters, you are its chief executive officer and are expected to preside at all club meetings and at all regular and special meetings of your executive committee. It is your challenge to see that this club enables its members to achieve their educational goals. It is also your challenge to see that your club helps the area, division, district, and Toastmasters International to meet their goals. Please accept the gavel as a symbol of your leadership and dedication to office. The gavel is a symbol of the power and authority given to you by the membership of this club. Use it wisely and with restraint. You are a member of your team as well as a leader. A team is more than a collection of people. It is an emotional force rooted in the feelings, thoughts, and actions of all members with the common goal of achievement, sharing, and mutual support. Work with your team members to create a healthy, dynamic club, a club of which everyone is proud. Will you, Lucas, as president, accept this challenge and perform your duties to the best of your abilities?
I will.
It is my pleasure to declare these Toastmasters installed into the offices to which they have been elected. Officers, the growth and development of the Toastmasters program in Coral Gables Toastmasters depends largely upon the actions of this group. On your honor, as members of Toastmasters, do you pledge to individually and collectively stand by this club, live with it, and work with it throughout the coming year? I will
Thank you.
now hand off to our president of Coral Gables Toastmasters, Lucas Calafell. Lucas?
Thank you very much. Let me start removing these spotlights. Okay, I want everyone to do a few things. Number one, unmute and give a round of applause for our installing officer, the amazing Patrick Flood. And that applause will also apply to the fact that tonight is our first meeting of the new Toastmasters year. Now, for some newer members and the guests in attendance, one might wonder, what do you mean new year? Is it December already? Is it January of 2022? No. Toastmasters International functions on a fiscal year, which means that in Toastmasters case, the new year starts on July 1st and of the current year and ends on June 30th of the following year. Hence, July 1st marks the Toastmasters New Year. But I want to share a video with you, a quick video so to get in the spirit of this Toastmasters New Year. Let's see if technology will cooperate with me. There you go. Give me a verbal cue if you can see my screen.
Yes, we could see it.
Okay, perfect. Let's get started.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Toastmasters International President-elect Margaret Page. July 1st is an important date for Toastmasters. It marks the beginning of a new program year and gives members and clubs around the world an opportunity to reset and look forward to what's next. As our founder, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley said, the past prepares us to meet the challenges of the future. For years, members have celebrated this day and referred to it as Toastmasters New Year. I invited some friends from around the world to wish you a happy Toastmasters New Year.
সকলকে টোস্টমাস্টার নববর্ষ শুভেচ্ছা।
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
Feliz ano novo a todos os Toastmasters.
Happy Toastmasters New Year! ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೋಸ್ಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಕುಟುಂಬಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಇಡೀ ವಿಶ್ವದ ಜನತೆಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಟೋಸ್ಟ್ಮಾಸ್ಟರ್ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯಾದ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಹಾರ್ದಿಕ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
Toastmasters नववर्षर अनेक अनेक शुभेच्छा.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
आप सबन मनला टोस्टमास्टर की नववर्षला गाड़ा गाड़ा बधाई।
Happy Toastmasters New Year.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
ਟੋਸਟਮਾਸਟਰਸ ਦੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਸਾਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ.
Happy Toastmasters New Year.
എല്ലാവർക്കും ടോസ്റ്റ് മാസ്റ്ററിന്റെ പുതുവർഷന്റെ ഒത്തിരി ഒത്തിരി ആശംസകൾ.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
Happy Toastmasters New Year.
टोस्टमास्टर्स नव वर्ष की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
नया टोस्टमास्टर वर्षारी हार्दिक हार्दिक बधाई.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
टोस्टमास्टर्सच्या नवीन वर्षाच्या हार्दिक शुभेच्छा. टोस्टमास्टर्स नूतन वर्षाभिनंदन. धन्यवाद.
Happy Toastmasters New Year! Toastmasters
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
టోస్ట్మాస్టర్స్ సభ్యులందరికీ నూతన సంవత్సర శుభాకాంక్షలు.
టోస్ట్మాస్టర్ పుదు వరడ వార్తകൾ.
Happy Toastmasters New Year!
Feliz novo ano a todos os Toastmasters.
Happy Toastmasters New Year.
તમને સૌને ટોસ્ટમાસ્ટરના નૂતન વર્ષની શુભકામનાઓ.
Toastmaster zaharzało pod głosem.
Happy Toastmasters New Year.
How exciting. And that tells us that Toastmasters truly is an international organization, and all of us are celebrating the brand new year, a brand new executive committee, and brand new opportunities and challenges that are coming to us in this upcoming year. I want to transition now and ask our guests, the guests that we do have, to quickly, briefly introduce themselves. Just a quick introduction. I'm going to first call on Tim.
Hello. Well, it's an intro, just a general introduction.
Just a general introduction, very quick.
Okay. Glad to be here as a guest. I am a product manager of product managers at GE, and I'm looking to improve my public speaking.
All right, thank you, Tim. We're glad to have you. Let's hear from Alexia. Unmute and give us a brief introduction.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here too. I'm a civil engineer at AECOM in Coral Gables. I say a lot, so I'm looking to help me refine my public speaking skills.
All right, you're absolutely in the right place. We're glad to have you. And last but not least, Gina, please unmute and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. My name is Gina White. I am the new area director for 54, servicing Coral Gables. So I look forward to attending future meetings and getting to know each of you.
Thank you, Gina. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. As your Toastmaster of the day, I am basically here to make sure that we go through their meeting and everything that we have prepared as smoothly as possible. The first thing I want to do is introduce all of my helpers that will essentially help me to make this meeting run as smoothly as possible and to be as successful as possible. With that, I want to call on our timer. Felix, tell us what you're going to do for us tonight.
Greetings, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. As timer, I will time the table topics speakers, formal speeches, and evaluations. I will also alert each speaker of the time they have left using a green, orange, and red card, which denotes specific times remaining. Table topic speakers should limit their remarks to no more than 2 minutes. At 1 minute, I will raise the green card. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will raise the orange card. At 2 minutes, I will raise the red card. Those giving speeches should limit their remarks to their specific speech times. Icebreaker speeches should be 4 to 6 minutes in length. At 4 minutes, I will raise the green card. At 5 minutes, I will raise the orange card. At 6 minutes, I will raise the red card. The individual evaluations should be between 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will raise the green card. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will raise the orange card. And at 3 minutes, I will raise the red card. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you very much, Felix. And just to clarify, we have no icebreakers this evening. We have 2 5 to 7 minute speeches. So just make note that you'll put up the green at 5, yellow or orange at 6, and red at 7. Thank you very much, Felix. Let's hear from our grammarian, Mr. Patrick Flood.
Thank you again, Lucas. As the grammarian for today's meeting, I am responsible for monitoring word use. If someone misspeaks or says something incorrectly, we will note that. But more importantly, what I like to do as grammarian is highlight positive and interesting phrasing when one of us speaks. I will take notes and share those. The word of the day, the word of the meeting is stupendous. It is an adjective and it is defined as extremely impressive. So it's also in the chat notes. An example of stupendous in a sentence is, it was a stupendous display of technique. So I'll be watching for word use, good and bad, and we'll report back. Please try to use the word stupendous in your speeches, evaluations, and table topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. And once again, a stupendous job at being our installing officer. That's one for me. Let's hear from our all counter, Rachel.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. The purpose of the all counter is to know words and sounds that are used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds, including and I will also know when a speaker repeats a word or phrase, such as I, or this means, this means. At the end of the meeting, I will report the number of times that each speaker used these expressions. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
And thank you very much, Rachel. Our final functionary role will be the vote counter. Let's hear from Wei Wen.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As the vote counter, I will collect votes for best speaker, best table topic speaker, and evaluator. So after each session, please send a private chat to me, and I will announce the winner at the last. And also feel free to send private chats to the speakers or other functionary roles if you want to say something nice or any constructive feedback. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Wei Wen, for both serving as our vote counter and our general evaluator. Let's get into the first segment of our meeting, the prepared speeches. Our first speaker is working in the persuasive influence pathway, doing the project researching and presenting, giving the speech titled Power Bases and Influence Tactics. Please give a warm virtual welcome to Mario Letano.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Tonight, my speech is titled Power Bases and Influence Tactics. As some of you know, for the past several months, I have been in this process of submitting my candidacy as an officer in the United States Navy. And so as I prepare myself for this role, what I have been doing is thinking about myself and comparing my life as it is now to what it would be like in the future as an officer. And I thought about some of the requirements and the potential interviews that I may be asked to take. And so some of the questions that I thought about that I may be asked in a selection board is about leadership. And one of the questions that really stood out for me is, what is my leadership model? Do you have a leadership model? I certainly did not at the time. And so I decided that I would circle back to this later and discover this in my journey as I prepare myself for this. And I had a brain freeze. I'm sorry about that. And so, okay, so I'm looking up the model, right? And then I don't want to come up with a cliche answer like a famous person or a famous admiral or something like that. I wanted to come up with something that was unique and stupendous, not a person, but something that was quantifiable. So I then put it aside and I began reading books. I've been reading a ton of leadership books. And one of the books that really stood out for me is this book called the Chief Petty Officers Guide. This is a guide specifically for Chief Petty Officers in the Navy, which is one of the most senior enlisted ranks for a sailor. And in this book, the author teaches the principles of power bases and influence tactics as his leadership model. And I really enjoyed it. And I felt that this is something that I could integrate in my future career as a leader and manager. And so power is the ability to influence the behavior of others with or without resistance by utilizing a variety of tactics to get others to take action and do what you need to do. What I have been learning is this power base and influence model, and it can be used at the small team level, leading all the way up at the executive level. This power base and influence model translates up and down regardless of experience that you've had or position you've had. I also want to mention that this power base model is not something that's new. It's not something that the author came up with for this guide. This is actually something that has been around for 60 years and has been used in leadership practices and research around the world for many years. According to the Navy Chief Petty Officers Guide specifically, there are 8 power bases. These are the tools that you invest in. This is personal power, expert power, reward power, positional power, connection power, information power, environmental power, and finally, coercive power. You invest in these tools and you develop them. Sometimes your position strengthens your power base based on authorities that you are given. Other times you develop these power bases on your own. Once you have the power bases down, then you need to apply them. And so if the power bases are like the potential energy, then you need to translate this energy into kinetic energy by using a variety of influence tactics at your disposal. This is rational persuasion, ingratiation, using inspirational appeal tactics, how to use consultation and exchanging tactics, how to use personal appeals to get somebody to do something that you need them to do, how to use consultation and legitimating tactics, and finally pressure tactics. You have all these tactics available at your disposal, but they need to be practiced and you need to learn them. Sometimes you may find yourself that you are more comfortable using certain power influence tactics more so than others. For example, I find myself that I rely upon rational persuasion, which is using company policy, influencing a decision by using best practices, documentation, the core values of an organization. Additionally, I really believe in positive leadership. I enjoy using complimenting people and giving positive feedback. People love to have this warm and fuzzy feeling when they get positive feedback, and this makes them more agreeable. And so this would be an example of ingratiation. This power-based and influence model translates from the small team level all the way up to the strategic level. You know, countries and nations use power and influence. There's a battle of influence going on between the great superpowers of the world right now. The power bases that we mostly focus on are personal power and expert power. These are the ones that we primarily develop. This is expert power, which is the power that you have based on the knowledge that you have in your career or your job, the level of expertise that you have serving the institution or the company that you work for. And personal power is the power bestowed upon you by others based on your charisma, the trust that you've built, you know, that you are a dependable person and are trustworthy. And so this is a brief introduction of the power bases and the influence tactics. And I hope to share more about this in the future and talk about some of the different power bases and influence tactics and how can they be applied in different situations. So thank you so much for listening to my speech. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mario. All right, our next speaker is working on the innovative planning path, completing the project, researching and presenting. Our second speaker is a lead associate, which is a certification for green building construction. Her speech tonight is about how heat islands affect us on a daily basis, what causes it, and what changes cities can make. Giving the speech titled Urban Heat Islands, the Heat is On. Please give a warm virtual welcome to Jane Ruiz.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Let me share my screen. If anybody can confirm that you can see it.
We can see it.
Excellent. So tonight we're going to talk about heat islands. Have you ever wondered why cities feel hotter than the countryside? Or why people tell you to wear white or light clothing instead of dark or black clothing when you're going to be outside in the sun? These things are due to a climate phenomenon known as the urban heat island. Like the image shows in the upper right corner, sometimes cities can act like in their own bubble of heat, thus the term heat island. I stumbled across this topic because while I was browsing the news, I saw that Miami had appointed its first ever chief heat officer. And I thought, finally, someone is going to dedicate themselves to addressing my primary concern and pain in every daily life. Hopefully they make an entire police heat department to address the heat. So what is a heat island? What is the urban heat island effect? So it refers to an urbanized area that is warmer than its surrounding rural or suburban area. Cities tend to have this heat island effect because structures are highly concentrated in it and greenery is limited. In these cities, it can feel 3 to 7 degrees warmer than it usually should. And this even happens at night. Sometimes it's even 20 degrees hotter than it should be. And this is especially pronounced in humid areas. The way that a heat island works is that you have dark surfaces, which the fact that the surface is dark is what causes this. Absorbs and holds heat from the sun. This heat gets trapped and is slowly released back into the air, and it increases the temperature of the surrounding environment, and it creates like little mini islands of heat. They get hotter throughout the day, and it's most pronounced after sunset, and this stored heat is actually slowly released continuously at night as well. Besides dark surfaces, other causes of heat islands are thermal mass, which refers to the fact that buildings tend to be made up of dense materials like concrete that also hold on to heat, and human generated heat, such as cars, air conditioning units, any sort of machinery that gives off heat in a city. So the impacts of heat islands, it goes beyond the inconvenience of feeling like you're hot. There is an increase in energy consumption. Why? Because the first thing you do when it's hot is you crank on the AC. Now multiply that by 100 or thousands of people that live in a city, and you have an increase in energy consumption. This can actually lead to utility companies having to do controlled brownouts or blackouts to prevent a power surge. And these increased energy usage also leads to elevated emissions of air pollutants and greenhouse gases, which is just not good for the environment. Other impacts include impaired water quality. So when it rains, these heated surfaces heat up the water that collects on it, almost like water in a boiling pot. And when there's runoff, it runs off into canals, streams, rivers, maybe oceans. And you may already know this about aquatic life, but it's sensitive to any sort of fluctuation in temperature. So this can actually kill the aquatic life. It also compromises human health, and beyond just feeling uncomfortable, it can make heat-related deaths worse and heat-related illnesses such as respiratory difficulties, heat cramps, heat exhaustion. It can make those things worse, and it can actually exacerbate naturally occurring heat waves, which you've seen you're already dealing with. It also disproportionately affects children, the elderly, and people who work outside. And it actually also impacts lower income communities especially, because these are people that usually have to take public transportation or other modes of transportation, which expose them to the elements. Finally, it may surprise you to hear that heat is actually the #1 cause of weather-related fatalities. Yes, even more than hurricanes or tornadoes, and that's being in Miami. So with all these impacts, is there anything we can actually do to fix this, to address this? So because this is an event that occurs at a city level scale, the best way to mitigate these effects is at the city level. Some communities and cities have begun to take steps already, some of which are included in these 5 strategies recommended by the EPA. Firstly, and I think most importantly, trees and vegetation. If it's caused by a lack of greenery, then you add more greenery. From all the solutions proposed, I think this is the most efficient. So increasing tree and vegetation cover lowers both surface and air temperatures by providing shade and through evapotranspiration, which is a combination of the evaporation of water from the soil and transpiration, which is how trees and plants breathe. So these actually cool the surrounding air temperatures. Secondly, you can use green roofs, such as rooftop gardens. It reduces the surrounding temperature because it's vegetation, and it helps with stormwater management. And if you put trees on it, it can provide shade. Also, you can use cool roofs. This means not just that the roofs are a lighter color, it's not a dark colored surface, but sometimes you can use reflective materials, and it's much more effective at reflecting heat than typical roofing. You can do the same thing for pavement as well. And the 5th strategy that the EPA lists is smart growth. Now, this is a whole subject, but in this context, it means that you use all of these above methods and you plan for them. Like you plan for having tree-lined streets and sidewalks, you incorporate more green spaces like parks, and you use permeable or pervious paving materials wherever it's possible, like streets, alleys, and parking lots. So we can't roll back the development of metro areas, nor should we want to. But personally, I think that it would be awesome to have more green spaces. Who doesn't want more trees in their city? And call me a tree hugger, but I just think it's time to take the concrete out of the concrete jungle. Thank you, guys. And use your forces.
Thank you very much, Jane. We had 2 speeches, one about a leadership model and the other about how we can mitigate the effects of heat islands. I got something valuable from every speech. Let's hear from our timer. How did our speakers do tonight with the time?
Mr. Toastmaster, Mario Latano was within the 7-minute speech time requirement at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Jane Ruiz was slightly over at 7 minutes and 10 seconds.
Okay, we always give a courtesy for our speakers, a 30-second grace period, so she is within time as far as being voted on for best speaker. So she's in the clear as well as Mario. And what does that mean? That means that you can vote for either of the 2 for best speaker. How do you do that? You send a private message to our vote counter, Wei Wen Wong, in the private chat, in the chat function. So go ahead and send her a private message and make your vote heard. Okay, let's move on to our second segment of our meeting tonight, which is going to be table topics. And who's going to lead us in that segment? None other than Dr. Jasmine Sandoval. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am going to go ahead and present this. Actually, stop watching, guys. Close your eyes just for a second. A little glitch there. You're seeing not the front screen. And-
Or at one point, and then
okay.
we lost it.
Here. All right. Give me a thumbs up if you can see that, please.
Yes, we
So
can.
for today, thank you. For today's table topics, I wanted to touch on a little bit about what some of the trends are in our world. As we all know, as speakers, we can work on our speech and be phenomenal speakers. We can drop the crutch words. We can do a lot of things to present eloquently and be amazing. However, if we're not connecting, that poses a problem. Today's table topics is around TikTok, our Coral Gables Toastmasters edition. One of the trends that's currently happening on TikTok right now is quite interesting, and it really, if you think about it, promotes storytelling. So I would like for you to think about, tell me your favorite blank without telling me your favorite blank. So without actually identifying what the topic is, I would like for you to be able to story tell and tell me about your favorite blank. So with this template, we're going to move forward, and I already have a couple of people that I have on my list to call. So at the end as well, I also have 2 opportunities for our guests to participate as well. If any of our 3 guests would like to participate, please let me know. I'm not going to be able to see it, so if anybody else sees a hand raised or a comment dropped, please let me know. The first I would like to call on is Mr. Patrick. Tell me your favorite sport without telling me your favorite sport.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. When you get the opportunity to travel to a different city, state, or even country, you find some amazing green spaces and the opportunity to get out into nature and to exercise, hitting a small white ball into a hole. You play 18 holes in the elements. You can be in the hot Miami sun. You can be in the cold rain of Scotland or Ireland. This is a sport and an endeavor that I have played my entire life. I was introduced to the game by my father when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. I have a group of 3 friends, 3 lifelong friends, and every Sunday morning, more or less, we go out and spend 4 hours together playing this sport. And let me tell you, it is a revelation. You learn a lot about a person's character. You learn about their strengths, their weaknesses, their frailties, and how they play the game, how they experience success, and how they meet up with failure and obstacles. It is really a window into a person's character. And so this has been a lifelong avocation of mine that I absolutely love. And I hope all of you get a chance to experience this game at some point in your life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think we can all, through your storytelling, tell that what sport it is that is your favorite. Next, I would like to call on Rachel. Rachel, tell me your favorite travel location without telling me your favorite travel location.
Thank you, Ms. Madam Table Topic Master. So when I think about my favorite travel location, it was a location that I actually went on vacation for 2 months ago of an island that I'd never been to before. In fact, it was not just one island, but it was a place that composed of multiple islands. And then what I really like about that place is the culture diversity, and then also the diversity of the nature that I see. In terms of the culture diversity, it was just amazing to see a fusion of the local culture, Japanese culture, Chinese culture and then other cultures as well. For example, we'd go to a very authentic American diner place for breakfast. And when one of my family is eating pancake, I can be eating a Japanese ramen noodle on the other side of the table. And then in terms of the culture, the environment diversity, it was amazing to drive around the island and then to be able to drive through a jungle at one point, and then 15 minutes later, I'm by the ocean and then see a desert. And then also another 1 hour later, I'm actually on one of the tallest mountain in the United States. It was a truly amazing experience. And then I always thought, well, what's the reason of going there when I live in Miami and I can just hang out by the beach? But after going to that location, my perception of that location was totally wrong at the beginning. It was not just beautiful beaches, but also it would be it has some of the most beautiful mountains and cultures and food that you will ever see. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. I definitely think I have a clear idea of where your favorite travel location is. If you don't mind just dropping that in the chat box so that we can all confirm what we're thinking. The next person I would like to call on will be Felix. Felix, Lucas has graciously offered his assistance in timing you as well, so I'll give you a second to find Lucas on your screen before I move on to your question. Felix, tell me your favorite movie without telling me your favorite movie. You're on mute, Felix.
My favorite movie is a movie that is very old, but I feel it's a classic. It's a movie that has a star that was one of his very first movies, Jack Nicholson. I'm disappointed that he did not win an Oscar, although he was nominated. It's a period piece. Everything from the dialogue of the movie to the cars to the manner of dress I found it very impactful. The storyline, the plot itself was also very interesting and compelling. The female lead was Faye Dunaway, a star in her own right. The soundtrack to the movie was also very interesting. And the title of the movie is something that you could use in place of many things, especially towards the end of the movie, where the title character, his name is Jake, his partner tells him, Jake, and you can alternate in different places. You can say, Jake, it's only Hialeah. Jake, it's only Sunset. Jake, it's only Homestead. And that is my favorite movie. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. I'm not much of a movie buff, so this one went way over my head. If you don't mind adding in the chat below so that I know exactly what movie you're speaking of. Thank you. The next person I would like to call on is Miss Felicity. Felicity, if you don't mind, please tell me your favorite dish without telling me your favorite dish.
Madam Toastmaster, my favorite dish consists of, well, there is not just one. There are several actually, but this particular one is comes in the form of pasta. You need pasta to prepare to be a part of this meal. Most importantly, it cannot be, and it is not just any pasta. It is certainly not spaghetti. I can't stand spaghetti because it's too thick and it just feels gooey. I like the other type of pasta that's long, kind of like pasta, but thinner. I also like with this particular meal, I prefer the other sauce. White sauce and I don't go together because I have that kind of intolerance, if you know what I mean. I don't want to be too graphic because stuff happens. I like that meal because it is filling. The red pasta, because it has tomatoes in it, it works well for me. I love the flavor of tomatoes. I love, most importantly, to add to this dish, it must have this particular seafood. It comes with many legs. Now, not the hard kind, the other kind. And this particular seafood dish that comes with many legs must be fried. I will tell you the name of the dish. It is actually called Fra Diavolo pasta. And the Fra Diavolo part of it is it's fried, it's dipped into the red sauce, and it has the most, how shall I say, the most potent spices in it. So it is stupendously hot. And so by the time you're finished eating or you indulge into that seafood part of the dish, the pasta part of the dish brings it down. So it's not so in your face. It's not so pungent. It's not so, how shall I say, shocking. I was first introduced to this dish in New York City. And to this day, it's my favorite. I cook it at home and you will love it. Let me know. I will share with you at some point soon. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you for that offer. I am definitely taking you up on it. I'm sitting here thinking we need to schedule a dinner date really, really fast. So if you don't mind putting your dish in the chat so that everybody can look and give it a taste and try for themselves. The next table topics that I have, I would like to call on Ms. Catherine. Catherine, hopefully you didn't see this earlier, but if you can tell me your favorite holiday without telling me your favorite holiday.
Okay, I'm going to draw this one out a little bit so I don't give it away too early. But my favorite holiday, they start selling the decorations in the store probably about this time of year. We're going to start seeing it soon. It gets earlier and earlier every year. It can either be, well, traditionally, if you're at a climate with 4 seasons, it can be very hot or very cold. If you're in Miami, it's just always very hot during this occasion. The big festivities are in the evening. And then this one's a little bit unusual for me. Specifically, it was my favorite growing up because it's one that is kind of family agnostic. So I had a very small family and not a lot of siblings. So I always enjoyed this holiday because I could just grab a friend and have a great night. Just the two of us even. It wasn't a big drawn out affair where you had the grandparents and an extended family over. It was okay if it was a small group. I have dressed as many things on this holiday. I've been a manatee, a cheerleader, a witch, probably the most often. And you always have an exchange, like a candy negotiation after this holiday takes place. So as I got wiser, I caught on to what my parents were doing, and I learned how to hold on to my Reese's peanut butter cups and not to give them away for the generic lollipops and the other ones that aren't as such of a fan favorite. And another big part of this too is different gourds and decorating those, and you can either make them very spooky or very goofy. And I think I've lost my timer. Oh, there we go. And if you can't tell already, my favorite holiday is Halloween.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I think as a parent, I definitely practice that. Must do a taste test first of every single candy that's in the bag that they come home with, just to check for poison. So definitely took advantage of that parenting right there. All right, so next I would like to call upon Miss Wei Wen. Wei Wen, if you can tell me your favorite song without telling me your favorite song.
Wow, I was kind of preparing for the concert question that I saw. Favorite song without telling me your favorite song. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna improv. One of my favorite songs is you start to hear it around Christmas time. And it was actually controversial a couple of years ago because of the Me Too movement. The song talked about how a girl went to a guy's place and they were dating and they were flirting, and the guy wants the girls to stay. And the girl kept quoting her parents, and I think her aunt at the time, that she has to go back. And the guy tried really hard to impress her and to offer her drinks so that she can spend a little longer with him. I think it's a very cute song. I don't think it might not be politically correct at the time, but I like to hear that around Christmas time, and it's definitely on my Christmas playlist. So that's all the clue I'm giving. I think you will guess it, right? It's Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yes, thank you, Wei Wen. That's definitely still on my playlist as well. I have to agree with you. Just can't take it off my playlist. It's there. All right, do we have any guests who would like to participate? Any of our 3 guests who would like to participate? All right, no participation? All right. Oh, okay, I see a hand. All right, I can't see your name, so I do apologize.
Tim.
The small screen, but if you don't mind, please tell me your favorite candy without telling me your favorite candy.
Okay, so I don't eat a lot of candy these days, but thinking back to when I was a kid, nice candy bar. The name is evocative of another time, and it's filled with fluffy nougat, sweet nougat, and covered with chocolate. And it would be my favorite thing. In the Halloween that was mentioned earlier, you'd look through the bag, and those ones were always my favorite to get. And I would have a way to eat them that was kind of unique. I'd eat all the chocolate, leave all the nougat in a kind of a messy log of nougat, and then eat that all at once to get the maximum nougat impact. That was my favorite candy bar. And you can guess what it is.
Three Musketeers.
That is correct. Thank you. All right. Good guess, Felicity. I'm still sitting here trying to figure it out. Thank you so much, Tim, for being brave and stepping up and giving this a try. I do have one more slide left. If any of our remaining guests would like to participate, no pressure. If not, we can move on. Thank you all so much. Thank you, and thank you for your stupendous answers tonight. And this is one of my favorite segments throughout all of Toastmasters, and thank you all so much. Back to you, Mr. President, Toastmaster.
I happen to be both tonight. Thank you, Jasmine. As always, we can count on you to give us a creative and relevant, culturally relevant table topics session. And keep in mind for our guests, none of this is pre-planned. Nobody knows the questions that they're going to get. It's totally random and it's on the spot public speaking. And that is something that we all need, whether in our personal lives or in our professional lives. You don't know what important person you're going to end up standing next to in an elevator. Keep in mind, we're being socially distant. And you might have to give that elevator speech. Let's hear from our timer. How did our table topic speakers do?
So Lucas, thank you for stepping up when I got kicked off. So there was one that I don't have the time, but I believe you did. So I have Patrick at 1 minute and 55 seconds. I have Rachel at 2 minutes and 7 seconds. You have my time. I have Felicity at 1 minute and 55 seconds. You have Catherine's time. And Wei Wen at 1 minute, 45 seconds, and Tim at 1 minute.
Okay, so it seems that everyone qualified. Just keep in mind, unless, please correct me if I missed out on one of them, but keep in mind that we can only vote for current members. But Tim, you are more than welcome to vote for your favorite table topics speaker. I'm just going to quickly put in the chat everyone that we can vote for. These are all our current members. And I don't think I left anybody out, so we should be okay. How can you vote? Send a private message over to Wei Wen Wong, our vote counter for the evening. Now we're going to transition to the third segment of our meeting, evaluations. This is a critical part of our meeting because this is where our formal speeches, our speakers, will get detailed evaluations from their assigned evaluator. You can kick us off, Wei Wen, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So did we decide that we're gonna skip evaluator one? Just one.
Yes, we will provide a written evaluation for Mario. He had a work situation and had to drop off after his speech. So we will give him a written evaluation and we will jump to evaluator number 2.
Okay, sounds good. So I will be the general evaluator of the evening. My job is to first introduce our evaluator of the evening who will give feedback to our speakers, and then I will give a general evaluation of the meeting. So without further ado, let's welcome our second evaluator, Catherine Stewart, who will evaluate Jane Rui's speech. Catherine, the floor is yours.
Jane, I learned so much about heat islands this evening. I thought I learned all there was to know back in elementary school, and you took it to a whole new level. And now I remember so much more too because of your presentation and how powerful it was. To start with, it was extremely well organized. It was very well to follow along, and you could tell you explained what is a heat island, what are the impacts, and how can we mitigate them. So it was very clear and concise. In addition to that, you had some really great tidbits of interesting facts and data and things like, we're having our first chief heat officer, as well as heat-related illness is the #1 weather-related death. And at first I was thinking, oh, that would be an interesting way to start your presentation as well. But I think you did it right the more I thought about it, because otherwise you had your organization so well thought out. I think that would have disjointed it. And I think you did an excellent way of really making it easy, a complex subject, very easy for us to follow along, and each level built on the previous one. So you kept us all with you. In addition, with that, you had the visuals and the interesting tidbits, and your visuals really stood out because you had a nice mix of infographics that in themselves were very, very fun to read and look at. And then you also had images, especially for this topic of greenery. You had such lush, visual, striking images that really just helped drive your points home even further. So, and I know you shared you wanted to work on speaking more from memory versus and consulting your notes less. And I think you did a great job of that today. This was a great improvement. And just to take it to the next level, I think the one thing you could do is, we all have the struggle in this COVID world right now, but with your second screen, because the only time I ever noticed was when you would turn your head. So I think if you could just toy with placing your second screen maybe a little bit closer, that would be less noticeable. and it'd be much smoother. And then just your transitions too with that, which of course you would just get down over time, the more and more, you're speaking from memory and less on the notes. But I think the PowerPoint was a great call on this one because that's a great transition step to get you there, but still have the reminder there if you need it. And it served you really well today. So fantastic job.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So now it's the time to evaluate the whole meeting. I didn't time when we started. I think maybe we were 5-6 minutes late, which is normal because we're waiting for everyone to join. And I think there was some technical difficulties. And it is the first meeting of the new term of officers. And thank you so much, Patrick, for installing the new officers. And it's always a sentimental moment. And I think it's also a stupendous display of comradeship and leadership. So congratulations again, new officers. For all the functionaries of the evening, I would like to give a special thank you to Felix. I think you are our first, you are the timer for the first time, right? And because of technical difficulties, you impromptu with the color paper and you were holding it for the whole minute. And that's really impressive. So thank you so much for impromptu. Speakers, we have 2 excellent speakers this evening. Mario talking about leadership skills, and Jane gave a very informative speech about heat islands. I learned so much from it. Dr. Jazz, your table topic session is always a killer. First, I was like, what is she talking about? And then after several speeches, I'm like, oh yes, it is. It can be an exercise for storytelling. I can see that now. So thank you for the creativity. Catherine, as the only evaluator of the evening, you are very detail oriented. I didn't notice at all that Jane was looking at the second screen and she was not reading notes because I was just focusing on the PowerPoint presentation. So well done. In general, it's a very successful meeting, I would say, and we have 3 guests join us as well. And it's also the first meeting of Toastmaster New Year. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone later, and hopefully we can go back to in-person meeting soon. So thank you. I think going back to our president, Lucas.
Thank you very much, Wei Wen, for that meeting evaluation. I'd like to hear how our other functionaries, our calendar and our grammarian did.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot.
You can take over.
You want to take over?
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's hear from Patrick as our grammarian. How did we do tonight with the word of the day?
Yes, thank you, Lucas. We had, I had to step out for about a minute. I had a power failure, but we had 4 Toastmasters use the word stupendous. They were Lucas, Mario, Felicity, and Wei Wen. Of the 4, I thought Felicity's stupendously hot was the most clever use of the word. And then I'll just focus on the 2 speakers who I thought did an outstanding job. Mario talked about the different types of power models, which were interesting. And he started by defining power as the ability to influence others, and used the phrase, I really believe in positive leadership. So good job for Mario. Jane, I remember one of her first meetings describing herself as a reader. And if you followed along with her excellent speech, you can see she has an excellent vocabulary and used some terrific words, including exacerbate, mitigate, and then evapotranspiration. I can't even say it. I don't know what it means, but that was impressive. And I love the way that you ended your speech, Jane. Call me a tree hugger. It's time to take the concrete out of the concrete jungle. So good job by the speakers, and then kudos to Jasmine. Really a fun and interesting table topics to really challenge the speakers and also the members as we followed along to try to understand what they were describing. So great meeting, and that's the grammarian's report, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for that detailed report. Let's hear from our counter, Rachel. Just for the sake of time, if you can limit your report to 1 minute, that would be stupendous.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Patrick, 2R, 2 Wei Wen, 3 Rachel, 3 and 2 Jane, 2 1 Felix, 2 Felicity, 1 Catherine, 4 and 2 and Tim, 1 Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Okay, and Wei Wen, if you have the winners, feel free to, you can jump back on, you can send them to me, or you can read them off yourself if you do have all the votes.
I do, but would you like to call for the next meeting first, or you want me to?
Just
Okay,
do winners and then we'll move on.
all right. So for the best evaluator, since we only have one, the winner is Catherine, and I really enjoy your evaluation. I think you totally deserve it. Next, best table topic speaker. The winner described her favorite food without telling about her favorite food. Felicity, I think we are all foodies here. But remember, a lot of speakers got votes, so everyone did very well. The best speaker of the evening talk about the heat issues in Miami, and I never know that there is a chief heat officer. So that's new information to me. Congratulations, Jane Ruiz. Going back to you, Lucas.
Okay. I just muted myself. Thank you very much. I'm going to close this meeting out by saying it was a great meeting. It's a start of a new beginning as we go through this Toastmasters year. I will call for next meeting. That will be on Wednesday, July 28th. Typically, our VP Education, Brian, would call, but as he is not here due to another commitment, I will go ahead and take that on. Let's start off with speakers. Do we have any speakers that would be interested? Just unmute and give a shout out.
Felicity.
Okay. Any other takers for speaking, formal speeches? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to table topics. Anybody want to be the topics master?
I can do it. I've been released from my busy project, so I'm ready now.
Okay, awesome. All right, and how about general evaluator? Who would like to serve as the general evaluator? Speech evaluators. And let's move
I
on
can be
to,
evaluator.
okay. How about functionaries? Timer, grammarian, counter, vote counter.
I can be the counter.
Okay.
If it's allowed,
Go ahead.
oh, if it's allowed, I can be the timer. I'm a guest though.
Right. As a member, you would be able to take on functionary roles, participate in formal speeches. But as a guest, that wouldn't be available to you. but
Okay.
I did get your message and we can talk later.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a couple roles filled up, and of course, we have 2 weeks to fill them up, and the agenda will be created and filled in on our club website. A couple things for club business. I want to mention first that the Toastmasters International Virtual Convention is on August 23 through the 28th, if I'm not getting my dates mistaken. Yes, I have it here, August 23 through the 28th, 2021. They have 2 access passes. They have the free pass, which gives you access to a certain number of events, and they have the all access for $25, where you get access to all the events that you would get on the free pass, but you also get access to see the World Championship of Public Speaking. I am going to post the link for registration in the chat, so you have it there. The other thing for our members is that there's going to be a vote on how District 47 for our new members. District 47 encompasses all the Toastmasters clubs in Southeast Florida and the Bahamas. So there will be a vote on the preference on how they will host their events, whether it's going to be in-person, hybrid, or completely virtual. And we have this opportunity to, as a club, identify what our preference is going to be in regard to that. This does not impact how we meet as a club. That is something that we determine on our own. So there is a poll that I'm going to put on our WhatsApp membership group after the meeting is over. And then you can cast your vote there, and the majority is what we're gonna report over. Okay, so that's gonna come after the meeting, and the poll will close probably tomorrow, most likely. But it's a simple, just your name and your preference. Are there any questions about any of that I just mentioned? Okay, with that said, I'm going to close out this meeting. I'm going to stop the recording.